Hello, how's it going, everybody? What the hell is going on here? There we go. Uh, I'm here. I sat down, I had my water, I'm ready, I got my pajamas on, I'm ready to sit back and start reading, and I realize I've got this huge stack of books beside me, so I thought I would do this. It's probably going to be kind of a lightning style here, just to briefly say a couple of words about the books that I read this week so I can start cleaning things up, putting things away, and getting ready for another week of reading. We had we were guests on a podcast. Meanwhile, at the we were guests on a podcast. Meanwhile, at the podcast, myself, Larasa, and Damien, Sleepy Reader 666. I will try to close the door. I will try to remember to put the link in the description of this video. Hello, Gorilla Todd. How you doing, man? I'll put the link in the description of this video so you can listen to it. It's the first time I've been on a podcast. It was really, really great. Yeah, it was good to just chat in a different kind of form and talk about comics, but other stuff as well too. So that was that. And then this afternoon, we were on Damien Sleepy Reader's channel for our weekly chat, which I think went about, oh geez, I don't know, 3 hours today. A pretty epic conversation. Always a great time. Everything on our weekly chat, that one of the things that makes it so worthwhile is not only just hanging out with everybody, but the amount of people that we have in the chats. I'm every week, I'm excited and kind of overjoyed to see the amount of people that are commentating on stuff we're talking about, having their own conversations. We've got a really, really good core group of people that come with us every week and hang out. And I really appreciate it. And I hope all of you who participate know how much we appreciate it, because it really makes the whole thing even more fun than it already is, right? So with that said, let's just dive into it. We'll start with this one, and we'll just give her. So Squeak the Mouse, one of the books I read this week. Take Tom and Jerry, and then go forward. Oh, Mr. DaCosta, how are you, man? And then go forward and make it incredibly extreme. And you have Squeak the Mouse. This is a silent comic, a wordless comic, and is chock full of blood and guts. And the shit that happens to these poor animals just gets more and more grisly as you go through the book. It is completely mindlessly violent and a lot of fun. Really great illustrations, some ridiculous gags, some naked animals having sex, everything you could possibly want out of a comic book. And it all starts with a beautiful little panel, a couple of panel throwback to classic cartoons. Super fun. DaCosta and I and a couple of people have talked about it on Twitter. This isn't an easy book to find. I just figured I would never find it. It just seemed like it was going to be one of those books that was always just well out of my ability to pick it up. Hello, Mr. Gorvidal. So it's really, I'm glad that I found it. So we'll fire through a lot of, or some of these I'll have talked about this afternoon, so I don't want to spend a ton of time on the stuff that I've already discussed. If you haven't seen the video, I'd suggest checking it out. I read 2 volumes of Valerian, Welcome to Alphalol, and Heroes of the Equinox. Both of them were entertaining. Naked animals having sex, another channel I should start just to have. Yes, absolutely. What was the one from this afternoon? I can't remember what it was, though. Yeah, that'll be the side channel. These were both pretty fun reads. I'm getting into the feel of Valerian. It didn't hit me from the very first volume. Like, I enjoyed the first couple of volumes, no doubt about it, but I feel like I'm really getting into the feel of this book now, and I'm really enjoying it. These two were good. This one I think it had a couple of things that there was a couple of things in here that I wasn't super crazy about. I wasn't super crazy about the way that it ended. The thing that I did find interesting about this volume is that the book is named Valerian, and in this book, I found myself getting a real distaste for the character of Valerian, and I thought that was really great to show that side and to kind of put into perspective who he is and what his mission is, and kind of where his allegiances are, particularly in this story. He's not fully bought into it, but he's still sort of a company or a military man, you know what I mean? So I thought that was a pretty great thing. Um, yeah, good books, really, really entertaining. I'm hoping I can find some more. One of the highlights of this week's reading was Deadly Dalliance, Vittorio Giardino. And this was, as we talked about this afternoon, I think Gore was saying the same thing. I loved this book. I thought it was really, really well done. What did I say? Six small, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 6 short stories. All kind of relationships and vacation based, but all of them with their own unique kind of crime element or crime twist. And kind of starts you off slow to some degree where they're good stories, but like this one is basically just a sexual exploit. This couple supposedly travels separate vacations, and this one they end up in the same location. You don't find out until the end that this is the couple. They pick each other up in a bar and basically create an event by hiring a local to kind of come in and rob them so they could beat the hell out of him and then have sex while he's tied up. So you get that kind of taste of things, and then every story after that ramps it up a little bit more, and it's a fantastic book. Number 3, I think it was, yeah, story number 3, Caprice in Capri, I think was my favorite out of the bunch. Just for the kind of this sad kind of character, you kind of feel for him. He takes on the identity of this woman's husband who's never visited, who's never come to their house here, and everybody in town starts calling him by that name. It's really good. It's just really good. I don't want to spoil the ending of every single one here, but trust me, if you see this out there, don't hesitate. This was fantastic. A really nice, quick read, but really rewarding each of the stories. The Ranks of the Black Order, entertaining book, even though it left me by the end of it a little defeated feeling, with a little bit of sense of what's the point, but also with a sense of there was some good kind of moments in here that made me laugh, sort of like black comedy satire sort of thing, about two extreme political groups fighting each other, but they're all kind of senior citizens. And no, I saw, sorry, just for a sideline here, there was a couple, I had a look again, Gore, when I was looking on eBay for Vittorio's stuff. I bookmarked a few things actually, and I went back to revisit them. There was a couple that were actually pretty cheap when I had another look, that even the shipping wasn't so bad. I don't remember if that was one of them, but I do remember seeing a few books by him that I may spring for in the near future. Yeah. One of the things that got to me about this story, The Ranks of the Black Order, when it started to put things into perspective for me, was when our hero group that we're following starts on their mission to find the Black Order, and they're meeting with connections along the way to get more. I see his books reminded you of them. Okay. They're going to meet some of their contacts. They first kind of met each other face to face, had some drinks, reminiscing about old times. Holy smokes, you look old. How did you do this? Blah, blah, blah. Kind of catching up, having a little bit of a party. And they get taken to meet one of their contacts in a bus. And they all of a sudden turn into a senior citizen tour group with their suitcases packed on a bus to go off to their next stop. Make sure everybody has a buddy, stay in line with each other, hold hands if you need to, nobody get lost, nobody wander off. They don't say those kind of things, but that's the feeling that it gave me. And I loved that. And as soon as that point hit, it started to sink in what I was going to get through the rest of this book. But it does have this quality of it that does leave you feeling a little empty inside to some degree. The other parts that I liked were they were trying to kind of get information from younger kind of extreme militant left-wing groups, and they didn't really want to have anything to do with them. I guess blah, 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 and kind of sending them on their way, not really having much time, not giving two shits about the Black Order, the other group. So really interesting just about how things get left in the past. Yeah, and just the work that they did at one time, it kind of has this sense later on in their life that did that really even make a blip? Did that make any sort of difference? That sort of thing. So good read. Jim Henson's The Storyteller, probably one of the strongest issues of all the Storyteller books that I've read. There's been a lot of fantastic ones, but this one really did it for me this afternoon. The Storyteller is met by someone knocking at the door who wants to tell him a story, and she kind of leads you through it that way. And just it's not only a story about a trickster type of god, but it's also a story about telling stories and memory and passing down stories generation to generation, and why that's important and that sort of thing. So that was a beautifully done story. Loved it. So I blasted through those to get to some of the stuff I didn't talk about this afternoon. I just finished this. I picked it up this afternoon. The Many Deaths of Layla Starr from Boom Studios. Fantastic. Maybe a little bit of shades of Carmen to some degree with some of the color palettes. So it's the god of death, the Hindu god of death, I want to say, who is kind of fired from her job because there's a baby that's born that is going to make people immortal. And so she's being fired, basically, and now she's going to be sent to live as a human in a human host body, and her kind of dealing with that. It's beautiful. The art is exceptional in this. I'm not familiar with the creators. I'm not familiar with the backstory about this. I don't know how many issues it's going to be. I imagine it's a mini series, but this was such a good read. I'm on board. I put it on my pull list right away. This is from the new comic shop in town here, 204 Comics. I had a flip through it at the shop and instantly just asked them to put it on the list so I don't miss any future issues. Yeah, we get a little bit of a spirit guide, and that baby there is the baby that's going to grow up to make humanity immortal. So she wants to be resurrected as a human so she can kill this baby, and it just goes from there. And I won't show you too much else after that. But yeah, there's some really great stuff, and they leave it on a really good note as well too. So I would like more, so I'm on board for that one. The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, issue number 1. Since I got my hands on Doctor Strange 169, I'm slowly making my way through this first volume again. So I just read issue number 171 with this beautiful cover. I didn't talk about 170 or 169 last time. I won't spend too much time even in future videos talking about this, other than I love reading this again. It's so good. Some of these volume 1 issues I have read. I've never read all of them. I was sort of waiting for 169. I was really waiting for 169 to get into my hands, and 169 is an exceptionally good issue retelling that origin story. I thought it was done very, very well. This one is fun too, though. We get some good... Yeah, I don't have my Doctor Strange shirt on, but this is the image from my Blacklight Doctor Strange shirt that I have as the kind of center spread. Yeah, center spread. There's the staples in this issue, but super fun to read again. Like I said, it probably won't get talked about too much. It's one of those comfort books. I love the character. I love the dialogue. I love the way everybody speaks. I love all the mysticism and everything about it. And most of all, I love the crazy art and the colors. That cover is beautiful. If I ever saw this one for a good price upgraded, I would jump on it because that cover is one of my favorites. Let's see. Here we go. Why do I feel like we spoke about this one already? Did we speak about this one last week? Do I have a pile mixed up here? This is Fun O Planet #1. It's a Nathan Ward. This is Failed Alien. Nathan Ward did another one. Are You Saying Yes to Me, DaCosta? He did a book that I read before and picked up, and I loved it. It had a few short stories in it. This one wasn't as entertaining, but the art was still on par and top notch from Nathan Ward. I really feel like we did speak about this, and I've made a mistake. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. So anyway, there's another look at it again then. I don't know how that got back in the pile. Moving on. What do I got here? Oh, yeah, this one. Leah, The Confessions of Julius Antoine. Oh, boy, man. What a fucking story this is. This week, or this last week, actually it was last weekend that I picked it up. There's a local place in town, Entertainment Exchange, and he posts photos of some of his new stock up on his Facebook page, as a few of our local shops have started doing since the pandemic. I'm sure we're not the only city, but it's been great to kind of scan through there. He gets in a lot of really good stuff. He gets in a lot of Criterion. He gets in a lot of stuff from Arrow Video, and he just gets in a really wide range of things. So one of the movies that showed up in a photo not too long ago was a movie called Short Eyes, and I wish I would have brought it down. And I'm blanking on the guy's name who wrote it. Basically, the movie Short Eyes, I've had on a bootleg DVD-R for a lifetime. I've had it forever, since probably early 2000s, and watched it a number of times. Really, really enjoyed it. It's sort of presented as a play. It was written as kind of, I think the whole thing was written by a group of inmates at Sing Sing, sort of part of a work release program. They performed it in the jail, and then they also performed it outside as well too when they were released. So it's a bunch of ex-inmates, and it's filmed in a prison as well too, like a detention center, I guess. Apparently, from the commentary that I started watching, I believe that same location was where they shot the TV show Oz, is what they were saying. So they're in that same facility. The greatest story about this movie, the making of the movie, was there was another director attached to the movie already, and apparently shot the first week, worked the first week, and basically on the Friday, all of the inmates / actors said, if you come back on Monday, we're gonna fucking kill you. So needless to say, he didn't come back on Monday, and they got another director in to continue it. It's a really, really good story. So the basic premise is it's this kind of cell. It's this kind of group of inmates that are just kind of living in the same kind of wing, I guess, and interacting with each other. This white guy gets thrown in who is he's been arrested on an accusation of being a child molester. So a short eyes is what they call him. And once they find that out, things don't go so well for him, let's just say. But it's filled with some incredible dialogue. Curtis Mayfield does the soundtrack, and Curtis Mayfield has an appearance in the movie as well too. And there's a whole section where they get into some singing together, and Curtis Mayfield does a track, and another one of the inmates does a track as well. Incredible movie, harrowing. There's a whole the character who's playing the short eyes, the short eyes freak, has this kind of 10-minute monologue where he talks about his life and the first time he had sex and how he attracted these young girls. It is probably some of the most uncomfortable cinema I've watched. It was such a difficult scene to sit through. Me and my wife were watching. There is some violence for sure, but it's mostly a dialogue driven. It's really presented almost as a play, but it really puts you down in the middle of this as this one of the inmates is trying to understand, and is kind of used as a priest to some degree, as this short eyes character just kind of unloads his entire life. It is amazing, and the backstory on it is incredible too. A lot of the actors, because they were these ex-cons, they had some pretty serious shit going on at the time. The guy who wrote the movie, he would disappear for, once his stuff was done, he would just disappear. They may see him the next day, and he'd have broken ribs because he got hit with a baseball bat at a bar. There was one story that he was stitching up his hand because he got cut with a straight razor while he was out on the streets. He was a junkie. Apparently, he died along with a bunch of other people who worked on the movie, who were actors in the movie. It's something. It's something to look for. I'm talking about all of that because this is sort of along those same lines of, this is a character who has he does not make it. I'm trying to figure out the best way to say it. He has these urges. He has urges to have sexual relations with underage girls. He's in a relationship with a woman his age. They get introduced to her friend, and they end up going over there for dinner. And her friend and husband have a daughter who is underage. I'm guessing, I don't know if they explicitly say it, I'm guessing around 15, 16 years old. And we're getting a lot of his inner monologue. The first time that they meet, he comes home with his girlfriend, and she basically says, "Wow, where did that come from?" as they have sex. And he just kind of comes alive, so to speak. Now, it's never really explicitly said that he's done anything in the past. There's a lot of kind of mocking him. There's a lot of interesting dialogue from the women in this book towards him as well too. This is a great read. This is unbelievable. And where it ends up going, I honestly didn't really see coming. I thought it really was going to go one direction, and I'm glad that I was wrong. Yeah, it's another one where I don't really want to say too much, because I don't want to give anything away there. But another one that's well worth your time. So this is Acme Press and Fantagraphic Books. It's really good, Gore. I think you'll really like it. What does it say? Originally 1986, the English edition 1989. Writer Letendre and artist Rossi. There's the credits there if it's focusing. Hello, Scott. Hello, 64-page special. Thank you very much for joining up here. Yeah, so that was another highlight read from this week. One that wasn't a big highlight. It was enjoyable enough, but it didn't jump out at me. This is another Acme Press, this time Eclipse instead of Fantagraphics. This is Into the Shadow of the Sun Rail. It was supposed to be a three-part story translated into English. They only ever translated the first issue, or the first book, rather, and the other two never made it. There's what it was supposed to be there. Rael, Mantel, and Aliyah. And science fiction, post-apocalyptic, but instead of taking place on Earth, takes place on a gigantic kind of space station that has been created to, hello, Damien, that has been created for humanity getting off of the planet. So we get to explore this ship. We get to explore the dynamics of our kind of main group who is taken on basically as slaves, and they're going to be put to work. But then we also get to explore this space station as well as Rail kind of takes off. There's experiments that are going on, but he ends up taking off, and it's some gorgeous art. The artist, Colin Wilson, let me get the credits right. Yeah, so story, Colin Wilson, artwork and design, Colin Wilson. And Colin Wilson went on to, he was working on Young Blueberry as well. And there's a lot of kind of Mobius stuff going on here, especially whenever it comes to kind of tech, all that extra line work with tech, that really stands out to me as a Mobius thing. Hello, dude named David. And then we, of course, get a shot like this as well. So, I mean, visually, it had everything going for it. Story-wise, it didn't blow me away. I'm disappointed that the last two issues never made it, because I think, you know, be more fair to Mr. Wilson, having read all three of them, to get a full idea of where he was going with the story. So it was good. It was beautiful to look at. But honestly, not much else stuck with me from this book. The Chateau of Delights, Tales of the Chateau of Delights, Chris DeRuver from Jabberwocky Graphics. A visual, artistic, eye candy, just beautiful, beautiful stuff. Really gorgeous. Short on plot, lots of erotic poses, lots of naked ladies, lots of sex, and lots of really nicely detailed foliage and nature. Here we go for those, for example. We're on my channel here, so you're going to see some nudity, I'm afraid. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Really, really gorgeous book. I don't know much about Chris DeRuver. I don't know what else he's done. This is 1990. Yeah, 1990. Publication number 237 is what it says inside. When I did a search on my comic shop to see all the Jabberwocky titles, they had generally they have a pretty good listing of stuff. There wasn't much there from Jabberwocky, but this is beautiful. Really, really nice to flip through this one for sure. Yeah, he absolutely looks like Frank Zappa. Absolutely. Yes, you're 100% right. That fine, upstanding gentleman right there, who's doing things to one of our female protagonists. Yeah, it's funny. I look at the cover. I know I read it, and I can't really tell you too much about it other than I believe this was yet another post-apocalyptic tale called Downtime. And on the front cover here is our main character, who pretty much just kicks everybody's ass. Even flipping through, you know, this is the sign of when a story doesn't really hit. I can't tell you much else than that. Let's flip through a couple of more pages and see if we get any bells rung for us. Robots being put in place to kind of police humanity, the what's left of humanity, and then, of course, groups of men and women kind of surviving on their own, taking advantage and killing other people for their resources, etc. And she's kind of a lone wolf in the terrain of a post-apocalyptic landscape. And other than that, I can't tell you shit about this book. So that really tells you. Oh yes, and one of this rebel leader here from one of these rebel groups, he has a son who we find out isn't his son by blood, that he wants to take over. He wants his son to take over their group to kind of make sure that humanity lives on. And this son really doesn't have the he doesn't have the stamina, the guts. He doesn't have what it takes. So yeah, it is what it is. This is Four Winds, so Tim Truman, again, distributed by Eclipse. Glad I have it. Meh. It was a read, I guess. I promise I read it. And then finally for this one, this is Billy Budd, KGB by Jerome Shirin and Francois Bouc. This was a beefy book. This was pretty great. Another one where the ending didn't really stick for me, but everything leading up to the ending was fantastic. It was a really fantastic. We start out with our main character. I guess it reminds me a tiny bit of Monsters now that I'm thinking about it. He has a hair lip, and he has an abusive father, and he has the shit kicked out of him, basically, in this story within the first few pages. These are the first. Yeah, Tim Truman and Chuck Dixon, their Damien, Four Winds, where they were, the kind of purpose was they were going to reprint bring some European stories to a North American audience, and then do some original content as well. I don't know how much they ended up putting out finally, but they were distributed through Eclipse because of Truman's really good relationship with Eclipse. So he's an adopted child into this family. He's got this hair lip, as you see on the front cover there. Okay, Gore, that's good to know. I'll make sure that I'm careful about, I don't want to spoil any of these things, because I know that there's a few of you that watch this channel that will actually hunt this stuff down. I really dug it. He gets kind of taken by the KGB to be a part of their organization, where he has a bunch of trials and tribulations, kicks the shit out of people, and then is kind of isolated as someone with some very special gifts, and kind of taken under the wing to get some extra training, and joins this group. They're all dressed up. They all get dressed up like this, which I think is fantastic, because they try to, the idea being that everybody looks the same. Nobody really stands out, even though our main character completely stands out of all these because of his hair lip there. So he still doesn't fit in. They go so far as even training him in how to please women, and how women can please him. So he's really kind of brought up through manhood in a variety of ways. He reaches out to somebody within who was a priest. Religion is forbidden. Any sort of markings of the old religions is completely wiped away, and people are severely punished, and they were killed in the past. Some of the priests were killed in the past. And then finally he's sent on these missions to the United States. He assumes a new identity, They give him plastic surgery. And one of the things that I loved about this longer format, we have about 4 or 5 pages here where our main character is just walking through the city and he's losing a tail. And we find out that's part of his training. Those kind of touches I thought were fantastic. And I honestly wish they would have expanded on those kind of things even more than they already did. I loved that idea. He gets himself a job in chapter 2 working up in high steel with some indigenous people, and kind of infamous for this kind of work. No kind of safety nets, no kind of harnesses, no nothing. So people fell to their deaths quite a lot. When I spent the one summer when I worked out in Saskatchewan on these holding tanks, we were only a couple of 100 feet up off the ground, but the guy who was the foreman of it, he used to work in high steel, and he used to work on communications towers, and he was telling us some fucking horrific stories of literally seeing friends of his fall to their death from thousands of feet up in the air, and the free climbing that they used to do back then when he was doing this and starting at such a young age. It was just absolutely terrifying. Heights aren't my favorite thing in the world, so even being that couple of 100 feet up in the air, even harnessed off and everything, it was still quite an experience. That was a hell of a summer doing that job, swinging these big sheets of metal around to build these holding tanks with a bunch of fucking psychopaths. Anyway, this was a great story. He befriends one of the indigenous elders, and then kind of it just goes from there. I won't talk too much about the final chapter. There's a real big sense of religious themes here, and mortality, and kind of looking outside of yourself for something a little bigger, and his kind of coming to terms with that and how he's dealing with that. This was great. And like I said, I think this longer format really did it for me. I was a little hesitant when I saw how thick this book was, but once I started getting into it, I found it read really nicely. It didn't feel like it was a trial. The only thing, like I said, the only thing that stuck with me a little bit was the end, trying to wrap my head around those last few pages. Gorgeous, gorgeous art. Really great art. Yeah, it's a hell of a story. I'll be curious to hear what you think there, Gore, once you've read it. I think that is it. What do I have up here? The other thing I picked up when I picked up when I picked this Friend of the Devil up, he also had a copy of this that I'd wanted when it first came out, this Bionic Corn Shadme. This sold out pretty quickly. I couldn't find it around. So he had a restock and had a couple of copies come in, so I grabbed it. It looks great. I haven't tucked into it yet. I don't know anything about the story. I just remember seeing bits about it, and I think Chaos and Comics talked about it in a video as well too. So I'm looking forward to tucking into that. Maybe this week. We'll see how my week of reading goes. And the other couple of books that I picked up from the shop today that are on my pull list. There's a new Godzilla series, Monster Protectors from IDW. I figured I'd give it a shot. On a flip through, the art doesn't really do much for me, but who knows? I like a good Godzilla movie, a comic rather. And the other one that I had forgotten that I had put on my pull list, unfortunately, he didn't get in issue number 1. His store wasn't quite open yet, so I'm gonna have to hunt down Orphan and the Five Beasts issue number 1. I had to flip through this one, and oh mama, that is some good James Stokoe art in here. I'm gonna love this one, I think. It's been a long time since I've been full on in James Stokoe's head, because he's done stuff Godzilla and he's worked for other people, but he did that Batman story too. But this will be back to his kind of Orc Stain days, where he is just in his own zone. Damien, I think you were getting this one. Oh yeah, okay, good to know. To read issue 2 without having to read issue 1. I mean, I'm sure I'll find issue 1. But unfortunately, he didn't have it in stock, so I may have to visit another shop to see if I can get my hands on it. So excited about that. And of course, as we talked about this afternoon, Monsters, which I'm going to be sitting probably tonight to read another 20 pages or so and get into this a little bit more. Really excited about it. The thing that's the biggest surprise, I guess, is that price tag on there of $40 US for something that's what, 362 pages? Is that what we said? 62 or 65? Yeah, 365 pages. So really good value. And I think that's it. That went a bit longer than I thought, but yeah, that's all the books for this week. Thanks very much, everybody. Here we go. All you have to know is that Orphan is fighting guys trained by her master who then turned evil. Perfect. I figured that that was the case. I think I ended off on page 25, Gore, if I'm not mistaken. I did not put a bookmark in. Yeah, so I'm just finished. One of our main characters who sent our boy off to this kind of special unit. He's on leave right now, and him and his wife are talking, and he's trying to come to terms with what he's done. He's got a really bad feeling about what he's done to this guy. He has nothing to back it up, but he knows that something ain't right. And then I'm just about to enter into the next phase of whatever's happening to our main character. Some sort of experimentation, which I'm sure will be unveiled. Yeah, in fairness, 40 US is a zillion Canadian. It's true. It's a good thing I'm a quadzillionaire. That's it. Thanks very much, everybody. I appreciate you coming and hanging out for another 42 minutes after sitting with us for 3 hours this afternoon. And that's it. We'll see you next week. Later.